Hello, hello, good morning, happy Monday, and so we should just replace me with my cat. The orange one is better at it. Yeah, well, you're not wrong. And I suppose that means I should probably go get him. He's in a room next door, hanging out in the sun because we don't get sun in here until the afternoon. So he'll come here in the afternoon after the stream is done, but not beforehand. So I will be right back, and then Diablo, you can get your cat tax. All right, here we go. Where do you want to? Where do you want to be, Zilby? Not here. So okay, well that was a fast cat tax. So sorry about that, Diablo. But also, hello. How are you doing today? Oh, we are finished with working on the stream manager. So or at least for right now. So we actually have that up and running. We see that here. We said hello, hi to Diablo. And that should just be a part of our life now. So in the meantime, we can continue working on the other project we started on, which is EyeAP. That's going to be sort of like the centralized authentication system, except it's not really going to be like a production running thing. We're really doing it for testing to see if FusionAuth would be good as in that role. And let's see if we open up a README, if I could spell that correctly. Right, so we're still working on this first story, which is setting everything up so we can work on the first story, which is as an admin, I want to register a new application. And I believe if I remember correctly, we got this set up last time, which basically was we have FusionAuth running, we have Hasura running, we have our database running. It's now time for us to actually run our front end, and we have a front end here. So I believe this is. Let's see what we have. We have a bunch of stuff, don't we? So we have we initialized it. We have our trunk toml. We have our index, very basic index. We have a home component. We have our login page component. We have a mod, and do we have any routers? We do have a router that goes to both of those. And if we take a look at this is what we got. Very, very, very good looking, right? So we can go to homepage and login page. Now, yeah. Homepage and login page. So we can go to any of those. That's great. Perfect. Exactly what we want to see, right? So obviously, if we want to be able to, I want to register a new application. So this sort of like centralized authentication system would allow me to create applications that people would use. So to register an application, I do have a admin user in EyeAP, so I can go ahead and use that user. Or we could create a new one too. I don't necessarily know if that really matters. So let's see. I want to. We do need to log in order to do that. So as an unauthenticated user, I want to log in as probably the first one to do. Okay, so as an unauthenticated... Oh, Diablo, did you miss it all? Oh, I came in and I showed the cat off for a second. Let me... Here, I'll go grab him again. And we'll see if he wants to stay this time. He did not want to stay very long last time that I was here. So I will be right back. We got cat. He's unsure about that. He seems to be happy being upside down. I have a window open, so he's hearing lots of sounds from outside. Okay, you no longer want to be upside down. No? Don't want to be up there? Okay, he might be okay with that. Maybe, possibly. All Cato at the moment. Yeah, exactly. No? Okay. Well, it's a short cat trip. A little bit longer than last time. Okay, so what was this? As an unauthenticated admin, I want to log in. So obviously, from our from this page, so you know what I probably want to do? I probably want to mark what application this is. This is the EyeAP, right? So in our index.html front end, let's head, let's give it, it's the title property. And you're going to be EyeAP. Let's see. I have a sit-stand desk. Do I think it's worth it? If you use the sit-stand desk regularly, which I admittedly sort of like forget to do sometimes, then yes, I think it's worth it because we're at our desks all the time, right? Like we're working there, and then we go home, or sometimes we don't go home if we're working at home, and then we continue to stay at our desk and we play games or do other things in the computers. And so, if we're not careful, we can accidentally end up sitting at our desk for a unfortunate amount of time. Something like, let's see, 8 or 9 hours for the working day. If you eat lunch at your desk, that's another hour. If you like a couple hours of play times, like 13, 14 hours a day, we're standing up or sitting down, and then we go and like lie down for bedtime. And yeah, it's not great for us. So I think having a standing desk is worth it for our health. It's one of those like, are we going to use it is another question altogether. And if you're going to use it, I think it's very worth it. I would also get a pad if you don't have carpet or something to stand on, because if you're standing on just like concrete or really hard wood floor, that's also not necessarily good for you, at least for long periods of time. Okay, so if we do that, and then also I want to go to my main app. What did I call? Oh, library. Here's our app. So we have our that. Let's put in an H1. And here we're going to just say EyeAP. So in that case, we should now see EyeAP show up no matter where we are on here. And I can also see EyeAP up here in the title bar, which is going to be a little bit hard for you to see, but it'll be fine. You bought a Secret Labs Magnus Pro, so you're worried it's not going to be magic. Nothing is really magic, right? Like there is no silver bullet to anything. And so if even the best tools out there will, like, there's always going to be something about it that we're going to like, I wish it was like something else. But if it does what it's supposed to do and it lasts a decent amount of time, and then it's worth it, right? Like that's the way I feel about worth it. And then you just try not to like get invested like emotionally into everything, so that way we don't get disappointed by a lack of imperfection. Okay, so we're in here. We're gonna go into our login page. Now, how do we log in? How do we log in to into FusionAuth? That is a question, isn't it? Let's go see what they want us to do. So we are doing a single page app here. Oh, so they want us to use one of their SDKs. Okay. Let's go to Vue because I'm familiar with them. Okay, so general architecture, we have our user applications, a Vue home. You go to our Vue home page, we click the login link, and that goes to application, I think is, oh, wait, this is somewhat looking before FusionAuth is introduced. Never mind. Request for during login before FusionAuth, after FusionAuth. Okay. Oh, this is after FusionAuth. The titles were below it. At the very least, it'll be the right height. I've used the same desk at home for like 20 years purely because it survived and it's never really been kind to me, so you habitually slouch. Oh yeah, I have a problem where the curve in my neck is greatly reduced because of slouching that I did in my 20s and early 30s. And so I've been like trying to do a lot better with like sitting up straight, not slouching as much. I have the standing desk, which I switch to every once in a while. Usually I do that after the stream. But who knows? Maybe we'll do something where I do it during the stream too. But yeah, like good posture habits are good, right? Okay, so this is after FusionAuth. So we have our user, view the homepage, click the link to FusionAuth, and then it goes to our login form. So this is what we want to do right here. So we want to click a link to go to the login form. So looking at that, if I go to login, I want this link. I want a link here to like actually just go to login. So this is obviously the nav. Where do I want to put that? So in the login page, we have login, and we could probably just do a traditional A tag. Okay, log in with FusionAuth. We're going to need an href. And we need to find where we're going to be redirecting us to. And I'm wondering, okay, so we also need to create an application for this. So first off, let's create the EyeAP, and we have to do this manually. Theme, no theme selected. The tenant configuration will be used, which I think we're using default for this tenant. I don't know about roles. Do we have any roles? Oh, right. Roles are per. I guess in this case, we do have an admin role, which is a super role. It's not going to be the default. An admin who can manage users and apps. So is this not created yet? I don't think it's really created yet. So OAuth, it's going to give me a client secret. Luckily, these are all test things that we're never going to deploy, so I'm not worried about like leaking the client secret instantaneously. Luckily, I could regenerate it, so that's not too bad. But these are good to know for when I want to do this on stream for real stuff. URL validation, allow wildcards, nice. Authorized redirect URLs. Okay, so where can people go back to? So I want to send them back to here, right? Because that's what this looks like. It's going to view login form, FusionAuth shows login form, fills out and submits login form, authenticates user, go to redirect URI. Okay, so the redirect URI, I want to go to HTTP localhost 8081. And then where should this go? This should probably go to some like auth login. Authorized request origin. Okay, so hold on. That's that one. I don't. All origins are allowed unless specific origins are denied. For right now, I think that'll be fine. Log out URL. The application specific logout URL, if not defined, the global value will be used. Don't know about that. Log out all the applications that they're in. Enabled grants, auth code, refresh token. So I'm going to keep default for everything unless I know otherwise. When enabled, the user will be required to be registered before redirecting to the configured callback in the authorization code. Grant or the implicit grant, this configuration does not currently apply to the... Okay, so you must be registered for this already. So you can't... yeah, okay, I think that's good. Okay, so middleware to change what the user is, and we don't have that right now, but we might need to later. Scopes, just the normal scopes. We don't have clean speak set up. I don't have any email system set up, so we'll not send an email system. Jot. This is the application specific configuration for the JSON Web Token signing algorithm and related. Okay, so Jot, multi-factor. I don't have multi-factor set up right now. We're not going to allow the self-service registration for EyeAP. I'm going to leave default for all of this. Okay, so we're going to create you. Here's our EyeAP. I can view this, which gives me all the information, which includes, I believe, that secret, yeah, the client secret right here. Again, another good reason that I don't care about this app. But login, okay, so this is the login URL, I think. Okay, so if I copy you, and we just place you like that. All right, so what is this? This is going to localhost 9011, which is where we're hosting FusionAuth. OAuth 2, authorized. It puts our client ID in here. Response type is a code. Redirect URI is to localhost auth login. Login with FusionAuth. Okay, that's great. So if we save this, now the problem is that I don't have anything. Like this is not doing anything. So we need to now create a route for handling auth. How do we want to do that? Because we don't have a route for that. So I guess we need a page, right? So we want front end, source, components. This is going to be a auth login page. All right, so what is this going to be? This is going to be the, I guess this is going to be just auth login. I don't think we're going to, yeah, there's not going to be any properties to this. So I guess right now we'll just have an h1 tag. And we'll probably have some logic to do something with the tokens once we get to it. But I at least want to just sort of like see what we have when we get here. Okay, so that's that. We need to go into our routes and add this in. Okay, so now we should be fine. It's not in our navigation here, but that should be okay, right? So if we go here, your account has not been registered for this application. Registration required. Okay, so because I am logged into this browser on this application, and it's sort of like a global thing, which is cool. Okay, so I need to. I guess go to users. Here's this user account. I want to add a registration. Just say Username could be Brookzerker. Sure. I'm English, or I speak English. Time zone. I don't know if any of that really matters. I'm curious if I'm going to be able to see this. Let's leave that one blank. Roles. I'm an admin who can manage that. I don't. Yeah, okay. So if I save you, you now have this. Okay, so you're now registered. So if I come back to here again. Yeah, okay. So I'm authenticated. Instantly in, which is nice. So we see here in the URL, we have localhost 8081, auth login. We have a code. Our locale is English, and our user state is authenticated. So that has worked. Excellent. That's good. So what do I need to do with that? Okay, so authenticates user, go to redirect URI. So that's our user one. Request the redirect URI. User is authenticated in the application now. Display user's account or other info. Okay. So how does that work? Okay, so they created the same thing we had. Now we don't have an account page yet, but I'll probably just like show some information somewhere on the page just to sort of see it. I guess they have a require auth component, which is going to. Oh, they don't have like a registered require auth. Okay, template require auth. Do all those fun things there. But how do they do the actual authentication? Okay, I need to go find their SDK for Vue. And then we need to sort of like look through it to see what exactly they're doing. So it looks like it's FusionAuth Vue SDK. Can I actually search for something like that? Yeah, Vue. Okay. Oh, that's bright. Okay. FusionAuth Vue SDK. Let's go to the repo. And we need to find where everything sort of is and how it works. Let's see. So depending upon how they created this, my guess is it's in packages. SDK Vue, okay. Probably in there. Fusion with Vue plugin. Could be something like that. This is all written in TypeScript, so it's typed heavy. Okay, so that's the actual plugin that does install through Vue. Probably through Vue 3, which I haven't played with too much. I was using a lot of Vue 2. So there is the login button, which literally is just a login button, right? Yeah, do login and then FusionAuth login. So it's probably not a component. Probably not utils for test. That just re-exports. Create Fusion Auth. Okay, is logged in. Okay, this is coming in off of core. Core, new SDK core, okay. So they start with a is logged in false. So that's going to be sort of like a central state type thing that we can have. And we can set that up with yew.rs too. Okay, and then they're going to have get user info. Now, what I'm curious about, do they run get user info right away? Ooh, this function is created inside of this other function. Yeah, because this is one of those arrow functions. Okay, so when you hit login, it does the start login process. Where can we find that? Only in this file. Okay. Oh, but this is just the SDK. I wonder if there's a core other package that they're calling. So register, login, manage account, get user info. So this is just functions to do the things, and it all calls into core. Okay. So I would love to find where core comes from. And core is created from new SDK core, which comes from FusionAuth core, but we might be able to see that in here. Okay, so that just re-exports things. Okay, so when the auth is set up, we run the constructor and we create a new SDK core, which includes all the fun things that we'd have. We have our server URL, the client ID, the redirect URL. We have all that kind of stuff we need, all the things that are safe to have in our front end. So notice there's no secret. We have the client ID, but no secret, which is totally expectable, something like that. This schedule token expiration. Okay, so we also pass in. Okay, so we also set when the token is to be expired, which is right away. Okay, start login. What does this do? This handle pre-redirect. So it does some stuff, and then it redirects us to the login URL. Okay, so we've already done that, right? We've already sent ourselves to the login URL. Handle post redirect. Okay, so if this is logged in, so is there a handle redirect? It's like start login, we redirect out there. There's a redirect helper. It's all class-based, all very object-oriented. Okay, handle pre-redirect. So they potentially get the state from the string, which we didn't do, and would probably be good for us to do. Okay, generate random string. This to store its set item. Okay, so they're going to store the state locally. Handle post redirect. Huh, they're calling a Boolean class. And then they're passing, okay. Interesting. The storage get item redirect value. Which is FA SDK, the SDK redirect value. And then we're testing to see, okay, did we redirect? And if we didn't, return. Otherwise, grab the state. Ooh, okay. So run callback, whatever that is. Which is a function that returns nothing at all. Oh, and remove the state, I think. Yeah, remove the state from probably cookies. That's my guess, is remove it from the cookies. So you can't they don't keep it in cookies for very long. And generate random string. Okay, so basically they're going to create a state. They're going to redirect. They don't really say much about how this is working here. That's just the redirect helper. So login we send over there. Fetch, and then I'm guessing they fetch user info. To get the user info and then also test that the code is correct. I'm also wondering if we need to do something with the code to potentially grab that, which also makes me wonder. Let's go back to FusionAuth again. Where's your full documentation? I want to run everything, if I don't use an SDK itself, or if there is no SDK. It's if I have a code. Because I need to generate a token from the code, right? Yeah, applications, debugging the authorization code, exchange with a token, client. There's endpoints. There's also this, what is OAuth 2? Let's see if they list the API endpoints that we need. So still talking about what it is. Okay, so there's, can I click on, okay, so there's the grants, authorization, code grant. Authorization code. This is a random string of printable ASCII characters. This is exchanged for tokens by the application backend. Token endpoint. This is an API that is used to get tokens from the OAuth server after user has logged in. The application backend uses the authorization code when talking to token endpoint. I mean, that's not really giving me much. But maybe, let's go back to the API. Maybe I can get a token here somewhere. So jots and refresh tokens. Okay, issue a jot. And maybe that's, let's see. Reconcile, okay, so issue a jot. I don't think I need to issue a jot. Reconcile a jot using external. Don't think I need that. Don't want to retrieve public keys. Request. Okay, so I need something with a code. Oh, API authentication. Maybe you'll tell me. Okay, you need to provide a valid API key. To enable access to a secured API, create one or more API keys. The API key is then supplied in HTTP request. Okay, so that might be good. The following example demonstrates the HTTP authorization header with an API key of this. I mean, that's not too terribly different looking than what we have here. Okay, so what is this? This is a curl request to grab information about a user. So let's try running that in here. Okay, so this is going to be curl authorization. Authorization is going to be that code. And then user is going to be, I think it was what, Brooks at Mailinator. Oh, and it's not local at .FusionAuth. It is localhost 9011. Oh, we got nothing. Okay. So I got nothing because I kind of want to implement this and do this in Rapid API. Local FusionAuth. Okay, there was the create admin user. I want a brand new request here. You're going to be, I don't know, like get user info. I think that's what it is. It's going to be a get request to you. Okay, so HTTP localhost 9011 API user headers. We want the authorization header, and then I throw in that token. Sorry, it's a code that I have right now. And let's see what else. Okay, and then we're gonna have an email query param with that. So if we can send that, that's what I'm gonna send out. If I hit go, we get a 401, not authorized. Okay, so that's not right. I need to get, my guess is I need to get a token from this, or I need to, in the application, state that what I get back is a token. Okay, controls of refresh tokens are returned from the token endpoint if the OAuth offline. Okay, so token endpoint. So that makes me think that there's a token endpoint. I don't see token down there. This is all API, so including these. But those are all separate. I don't think that FusionAuth has one. Okay, so it's none of those. There's the Johnson refresh tokens, but I don't think that's, we looked at that already. I don't think that's what I want. I don't want any, okay, so it's not API keys. Okay, applications, no, that's actually like creating applications. I mean, okay, so if I want to get a refresh token, so retrieve a refresh token. Oh, but that's actually get one that's already been created. So that requires a refresh token. That's not what I want. Okay, it's one of those. There's login. But that's actually just logging in. Those are, no, that's like setting up the OAuth scopes in the app. That's not what I want to do. User actions. Okay, that's not for a token. None of those for tokens. Now there is users. Import refresh tokens. That's not exactly what I want. Yeah, so I don't think it's any of those. Okay, so if I want, okay, so they said it was like the token endpoint. Maybe I can search for token endpoint. I mean, there's a bunch of word token in all of these things. Access token. Okay. Tokens? Oh, it's life cycle. Okay. When they talk about tokens, it is a jot, which makes sense, but it is nice to know for certain. So maybe it is that jot one that we want. Okay, so an application token, okay, has those like that stuff inside the token. That's fine. And I want to you can supply in a login API as long as you have, okay, that's fine. So maybe it isn't as jots. So I want to issue a jot. Okay. You need this key. A key means you may call this API without an API key. Instead, provide a JSON web token. That doesn't feel right. Reconcile jot, retrieve public keys, refresh a jot, retrieve refresh tokens, retrieve a single refresh token. But that's with the ID of the token. I don't want that. And then, no, I don't want to vend a jot either. Okay, so maybe we go back to this and we find out after we log in, I need to get Can you hear that? Maybe okay, maybe a tiny bit. There's a garbage trucks outside picking up the garbage right now. So it's a little bit loud. Sorry about that. Okay, so after we log in, we need to get the token, right? How did they get the token? So start login, get the login URL, and then change us there, right? Now, that sends us back to here, and then everything starts over again because the app reloads. So URL helper, we get the server URL client, scope. Okay, how do they set this up? URL helper. From that, okay, so go to URL helper. Okay, so constructor is just setting a bunch of stuff from the config. Okay, get me URL. Okay, so generate a URL from me path. Oh, it's kind of funny they're using me path. Me path is either gonna be from the config or app me. Okay. Interesting. get the login URL. Okay, passing in the state that was used, generate URL. Oh, this is going to be where to go, right? So client ID, redirect URI, the scope, and then the state. So when I was trying to log in, nope, don't open that. I want you. When I was attempting to log in, this URL is, oh, and we can just go look at that. This. So we have go to there. So we have client ID. There you go. Client ID, response type, and we have that as code. Oh, they don't have a response type here. Interesting. They just have a redirect URI. We have that. We have a scope, which we do not, I don't see a scope here. And then a state. Okay, so I'm actually curious. If I don't have this response type, we just have, client ID and redirect URI. So if we save that, your request was malformed. Try hitting the back button. Okay, so only give us the error message here, which is nice for development purposes. Error invalid request, error description. The request is missing a required parameter. Redirect URI. What? I have a redirect URI. So, oh, double and. Okay, error. Missing response type. Error description, the request is missing a required parameter, response type. Okay, so I can't ignore response type. Can we see what response type options are? There's entities, applications. I'm not seeing any response type though. Can I quote this? Okay, emails, applications, both response types are defined below. Okay, so maybe this one? The response for this API, what API is this? Applications. Oh, that's for retrieve an application. Okay. Search is really slow. And this is off of their main webpage. That's unfortunate. I wonder though, I'm just curious, if I set this instead of code to be a token, what will happen? Will I get a token, a JOT token back? Ooh, error reason grant type disabled. The implicit grant has been disabled for this client. Okay, so I can't do that. Okay, so I need to convert a code into a token. And that's where one of these things gets code somehow? Get the token refresh URL. Okay, generate URL, token refresh path. Is app refresh. App refresh. Is that under applications? No, it's application. Is there like an app? It's like jots are under. Yeah, jot. Huh. On this is API. This is the equivalent of API. Can I see where config comes from? Okay, config. URL help config. From helper types. Oh, that's just types. I wonder if these need to be deployed somewhere else and set up somewhere else. And then I wonder if that means that we can find that in here for view. Like, can I see when they set up the application? So I don't think it would be components. I think it'd be under create Fusion Auth, config. Okay, so that they're taking in the Fusion Auth config under create Fusion Auth. Import you, create Fusion Auth. Create Fusion Auth. You're getting all these config. We're searching for this symbol. That's the core for the config. I think they're just using default. Yeah, that's TS config stuff. We're in the weeds now. Okay, so when we hear, okay, so start login. Okay, search, start login. Handle pre-redirect. Oh, that starts, okay, that's starts the login. So that means that's the entire, like, go to their place. There's a handle post redirect. And I wonder if I can just do something on like handle redirect helper. Class responsible for restoring a redirect value in local storage. Okay. Okay, they have their README. Enables automatic refresh tokens, defaults default. Okay. User redirect on redirect. This isn't the React one. Where are you going? On redirect. Oh, it's just okay. So it's just checking to see or handle post redirect. I swear to God, I'm gonna make my own auth system. I'm gonna call it use SSH and quit fucking around. Yeah, that. Usually for these type of things, like everything's fine if you can use an SDK. Everything is less fine if you can't use an SDK because you're doing something like using yew.rs in Rust. But if you're using one like the main ones, you just use the SDK and everything is fine. But of course, I'm not doing that, and it'd be nice if the documentation was set up. And in fact, I'm gonna add that to a question. Add documentation for completely manual authentication, because that would be really nice to have. There's a reason why Git's right across URLs is still just SSH and it's using the combination. Yeah, it's nice when you have that, but of course, if you have things like we're a single page app and you have to log in and do other stuff, there's a reason why everybody switched over to using something like this, and it's because people are smart and made these up, and the entire thing sucks, but it's one of those things where like eventually probably something simpler and better will be set up, but until then, working with like multiple systems and multiple projects and coming from everything else, yeah, I can see that. Okay, handle post redirect. Just literally checks to see if we're logged in, and I'll goes to redirect helper. New redirect helper. Okay, so I need redirect helper. Why do we just not have Kerberos directly over REST? Oh God. I remember setting up Kerberos for SSH and other types like CLI based authentication things. I don't know. I don't know what to say besides this is what the world has decided to do, and now we're stuck with it. Okay, so storage stuff, handle pre-redirect. Okay, so generate the random string. This is all about to go out, right? Get the state. Yeah, this is all going out. This is not the same thing. What I want is after we hit again, when does this, okay, so fetch user info. When does that get hit? So the React one, see there, and then how about, okay, view. So get user info. When does this get called? should auto fetch user info and is core logged in is true. And this is inside. It's not inside of there. Okay, so it's just inside of create. Okay, so create FusionAuth. So getting the idea of how this works. When we redirect back to the application, if the config is set to try to fetch the user info and is logged in as true, now we can see from our application, if I refix ourselves again. We have user state is authenticated. So we are logged in. So logged in would be true and automatically fetch the user info would be true. So go ahead and get user info. There's no this.get user info. So I would assume, okay, so 67, I would assume that it's this one. Get user info. So they mark we're getting the user info in state. They set an error value to be null, so there's no error yet. User info value await core fetch user info. Okay, so core fetch user info. Let's go to that. It gets get me URL, which is in the URL helper. So where is the get me URL, generate URL, me path is app me. Okay. App me. Well, yeah, when we're ever like SSHing in or physical access, yeah, it's usually Kerberos. Absolutely. But okay, so app me, unless of course that okay, did they have like an example application? So okay, get up to com, FusionAuth, FusionAuth, quick start. Can't. Okay. FusionAuth, quick start, JavaScript, Vue, web. Okay, so maybe we can sort of see how they've set things up, and then we can see what the config is, maybe. So we have app.view, the normal index page. Where are they setting things up? Main.ts? Yes, okay. Here's their config. Client ID, server URL, redirect URL, post logout URL, should auto fetch user info, should auto refresh, Scope. Okay. Interesting. They're doing offline access here. And the create app from Vue. Okay, so that's just Vue stuff. They get FusionAuth plugin from the Vue SDK, which we were looking at before. They pass in this. That means it's going to be the default. Okay, we need SDK config. The me URL, me path, just a string. Where's their? I guess their defaults are set in like, okay, app. It was like app me or something like that. I think that's what we saw. So if we search for me path, are you gonna have documentation about what these are? Properties. Me path, optional. The path to the me endpoint. Okay, cool. Oh, defined in. Okay, that file. Types. Okay, that was it. Not really much for us. Kind of makes me wonder, is there like a me? It's like me, at me. Hosted backend. Oh, okay. Hosted backend. The hosted backends pre-built solution for getting app up and running using the authorization code grant. Okay. We haven't in the past shown you how to create these endpoints yourself, but the solution shows you how to get going in your app without running any backend code. You just need FusionAuth. Okay. Here's the me path. We have some logins. This API will start an OAuth 2 authorization code grant by building a valid request and then redirecting the browser to our authorized endpoint. Okay, that's great. Right, so this is what we do. Start the login flow. And redirect to, okay, OAuth 2 authorize. That's great. Register for creating a new user or registering a user with an app. That's okay. Callback. You do not need to call this endpoint directly. The browser will be redirected here automatically after a successful login or registration. Okay, so this is not something I need to do. Refresh. This endpoint will extract the app cookie present and use it to make a refresh token request from OAuth token. The configuration rules for your application. Ensure that refresh token grant is enabled. If successful, a new set of cookies will be set on this response. That will continue. Okay. Great. So I wonder, do I have the wrong grants set up? And then there's me. So get information about the user. Then to get all the information about the user. Okay. Which is great. And then authentication for this. Okay, so not much more in there. So I wonder if it's refresh, and then I also wonder if maybe we have the wrong grant set up for our application. So in OAuth, is this the right app? EyeAP, yeah. Grants, we have authorization code, refresh token, let's go see if we can find anything about grants. No, that's like how to use grants. I want, what are the possible grants? It's not really telling me what the possible grants are. Oh, we could do applications grant, maybe? Still part of API. Okay, so we have okay, this actually might help us out. So we see authorization code, so maybe we can find that one first. Authorization code, getting that. Using authorization code grant. I mean, I feel like there's got to be some documentation here for like, maybe in lifecycle we can find it. Authenticate users. Enabling authentication tokens. To enable authentication tokens, open a FusionAuth web interface, navigate to applications, edit the application you want to use authentication tokens for, and click the security tab. You'll see an option like this. I allow users to optionally authenticate using an application-specific token in place of their password. I don't think that's what I want, right? But maybe it is. Once the authentication tokens are enabled for a specific application, you can ask FusionAuth to generate one for a user by creating or updating a user registration To accomplish this, you will set the request parameter named generate authentication token to true in the request JSON like this. So I put to API user registration. This request will result in a response that includes an authentication token. Like that. Okay. User registration APIs. Okay, so it's not that. Yeah, none of those are correct. Once a user has been given an application-specific token, you can supply it in a login API as long as you include the application ID in the request as well. Why are you putting... Okay. Oh, because like, okay, you put that instead of a password, but that's not what I want. It's like those are lockout. None of those are what I want. So yeah, that's lifecycle. Maybe OAuth tokens. When using the OAuth 2 and OpenAI Connect authentication grants, you'll be dealing with some tokens. Okay, so JOT, we have that. Now, I want to get that boy back. So maybe there'll be some endpoints we can use. Okay, so in support of all these standards, they support many different endpoints. Okay. Authorize. Authorization code grant request. To begin the authorization code grant, redirect to the endpoint. So authorize, client ID, redirect URL. Okay, so that's what I want. Complete the authorization code grant request. Authorization code grant. Exchange the authorization code for a token. This is what I've been wanting. Okay, so this is where it was. It was in lifecycle, main menu, lifecycle, OAuth, endpoints. If you'll be using the authorization code grant, you will make a request to the token endpoint to exchange the authorization code returned from the authorize endpoint for an access token. So we're going to post. Okay, so back to this. So let's change this to exchange code for token. This is going to be a post request. We're going to go to OAuth 2 token. Request headers. Authorization string. So authorization with the code. Oh, wait. The header is optional. If you have provided the client ID in the request body, the client secret may be provided as well. Yeah, but I'm not using client secret. If provided, okay, so blah, blah, blah. If providing client authentication using the basic authentication scheme, okay, we're not using that. So content type must be set to application X for, okay, so I'll put that in the body. Request body, ensure you're setting these parameters. Okay, so I think this is right. And then in body, we're going to do Xform URL encoded. Okay, that's what I want. request body, client ID. So this all goes into the body here. So I'll have client ID, our client ID. Where can I find that information? Here we go. Client ID. Client secret. This parameter is optional. Okay, so we're doing that. Code. Do you have? Oh, code. Required. The authorization code returned from the authorized response. Huh. So wait, do I not have an authorization? Let me remove that just in case. So we're going to have code, and then the code is going to be this thing. Code verifier parameter, key for code exchange. Is required to complete this request, and a code challenge parameter was provided. I didn't do that. Grant type required. Must be set to authorization code. You know, I always like find it funny when there's like, you must provide this. Also, it must be set to this. And it's like, okay, well, isn't that just always that then? Redirect URI. The URL to redirect to upon a successful request. This is a post, right? Huh, interesting. Okay, so localhost 8081. Suyash, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. How are you doing today? Let's see, localhost 81. I think it was like auth login. Oh wait, post OAuth 2 token. Are these multiple post OAuth 2 tokens? They are. Oh. And so sometimes they're required and sometimes they're not. Resource owners, password grant. Okay, so maybe I don't need this because I already did this. So if I just send this. Oh, and I re-enabled the header. Invalid client authentication. Authorization header was not the basic scheme. So what is that? Like basic? Missing username and password. Oh, okay. Can't be that. I don't want to use basic, right? So am I not allowed to put the client ID in the body? Then headers, let's remove the basic from this because that doesn't make any sense. Invalid client authentication scheme. Okay, so want that client secret, can't use that. We have the code verifier, we're not using that. Grant type, we have that. Redirect. Okay, let me set the redirect URI. No change. Okay, so that didn't give us what we want. Resource owner's password credentials grant request. Exchange user credentials for a token. That's like actual credentials, right? I don't want that. Yeah, that's like username and password. That's not right. Complete the device authorization grant request. Authorization, this header is optional. Client secret may be provided. Yeah. Okay, so we have client ID, client secret, device code, grant type. That's for a device. I don't think that's what we want either. To exchange a refresh token for an access token. I don't think that's what I want. I think that first one is the one that sounds like it makes the most sense. Okay, only paid plan. That can't be that. It feels like it has to be this one. I post to you, authorization. The client secret may be provided. Okay, so I don't want to do client secret because that can't be done in front ends. Right, my actual header will be different, but it's okay. Is you're gonna tell me more up here maybe? So we redirect to you. I mean, it's not just a bearer. Do I just say bearer for a header? No, come on, don't. Yeah, okay, so invalid client authentication header was not the basic scheme, which I can't make this bigger, unfortunately. Oh, I can do raw. Okay, not the basic scheme. That's invalid client authentication scheme. That seems wrong. Maybe an overview will have something more. It is recommended to utilize the authorization code grant unless you have technical requirements that make a different grant a better choice. Okay, so which grant do we have? We are using authorization code grant. Okay. So example authorization code grant. Point your application to the authorized endpoint. Your response type will always be code for this grant type. Consume the authorization code returned from the authorization request. When the authorized request completes successfully, respond with the status code of 302 to the location provided by the redirect URI parameter. The request will contain a code parameter which can be exchanged for an access token. The access token contains the user ID of the authenticated user, which can then be used to retrieve the entire user object. Retrieve the token endpoint documentation for more detail. the following is example redirect URI containing, okay, yes, this is what we got with the code. So we saw that. Exchange the authorization code for an access token. Yeah, okay. So wait, consume this. The access token. It's a little bit weird where they say like, hey, you're going to do that up here, but really this is just talking about this. If they exchange their returned authorization code for an access token, the JSON response will contain the user ID of the authenticated user. If the authorization code grant is being implemented in a single page app SPA, the token request should be made by the application server. That's not how, okay. Are you saying that I have to do this on a server? I can't do this from the front end like many other SPA apps, like authentication, host authentication systems. So I'm going to post to OAuth token. So OAuth2 token, content type that, client ID. Oh, they don't have an authorize. Oh, okay. So hold on. Let's go back to this. So if I don't have an authorization at all, we just have a body, form URL encoded. They have a client ID. They have the code. They have the grant type, authorization code, and then they have a redirect URI. Back to this again. Authentication missing is basic authentication, but this is what they got back. So I feel that it's misconfigured, maybe? I was wondering how you're going to solve that problem. Your redirect has to go somewhere that isn't the SPA, and that redirects to the SPA. Yeah, it's also a post, which is interesting. Like, do I need to do a double redirect from, so they redirect back to me and then redirect back to them again? That feels odd. No, but then, okay, so why do I have to put another redirect again? So like I already have a redirect back. And so when we look at something like Auth0, they have a front end only, no backend required. The backend would be, I guess, in this case, FusionAuth, right? Where you navigate the browser over to to Auth0, you log in. If you successfully log in, they redirect you back to your app, and then they give you either the code, or if you do a different grant type, you can get the like just a token. If you get the code, you should be able to exchange that token. So that code. So maybe I have the wrong type of app. Maybe I don't want. Maybe I want one that gives us just a token right away. And if I remember correctly, I can say response type. Now, if I make this a token instead of a code, unauthorized client, error reason, grant type disabled, error description, the implicit grant, okay, has been disabled. So implicit grant is this one. So if I enable yew, and then we do this again, oh, then I just straight up get an access token. That's what it is. I needed to enable the implicit grant. So I'm curious, are you going to tell me implicit grant? Okay. FusionAuth supports the following grant types: implicit grant, authorization code grant. And I vaguely remember I saw in the search there was a warning. Example implicit grant. Caution, warning, the authorization code grant is always preferred over the implicit grant due to the inherent security risks of this grant. This grant is provided for compatibility with existing integrations, but the use of this grant is not recommended. When using this grant type, the access token will be returned on the URL as a fragment, which makes it susceptible to be intercepted. Additionally, the client, the browser, does not have a secure way to store the token, which makes the token susceptible to theft. If you're still not convinced, proceed your own risk. Okay. So do I have to have a server? Like that's the next question is, do I have to have a server to do this stuff? Yeah, there's so many redirects. So last time you screwed with OAuth 2, the workflow was thus. User isn't logged in, is redirected to the login page. That redirects them to the OAuth 2 login page on their side. They log in. Then it redirects back to a page that only sets in my database the user logged in, then redirects them back to the app page we were at step 1. I hate OAuth 2 because there's a lot of redirects going on. Yeah. Yeah, implicit grant is auth token equals blah. Anyone knows the URL knows the token. Yeah. Yeah, which is true. Now, the thing is, though, why is there documentation for getting the token from the code so bad? So authorization code grant. Notice, mobile applications require additional security implementing authorization code grant flow due to inability to safely store a client secret and a potential of the authorization code being intercepted. For these reasons, it's best practice to implement the authorization code grant flow with proof key for code exchange. A pixie, okay? Which I think is the state, right? So we go there, consume the authorization code returned from this. So we get our, okay, there's our code that we got back. And user state. And then this is where they get to say, post to OAuth 2 token. Am I going there? OAuth 2 token? OAuth 2 token, I am. We have our client ID, we have the code, grant type, and redirect URI. So this is really curious to me, though. Oh, like why this isn't working with that code. Let me put this back to code. Okay, so that gives us the code here again. So here's that code. Here's our code there. So we have no headers. So it's a post. I guess they have a host as a header. Content type, accept, content length, okay. So they don't have unauthorized. So then we have client ID. So in body, form URL encoded. We have a client ID, and that is set to the client ID, right? And that was this client ID app. We have our code. We have our grant type is authorization code. And then we have redirect URI, which will have to be going to localhost auth login. Localhost 8081 auth login, okay. And when I send this, it's just error invalid client. Error invalid client. Client authentication missing as basic authorization header or credentials in the body or some combination of them. Yeah, it's not fun. Well, they sometimes have where to set this. Let's see. And if I remember correctly, their example is always using. Where was that? Like their example that they use here is using the SDK from. How far can I go back? Is it going to go back to theirs? No, it's not. Which grant type are they going to use? Because I'm a little bit concerned that they're saying like, hey, don't use the implicit grant type. Also, all of our examples and SDKs that we have use the implicit grant type. Like that just feels like not great. Okay, can I actually just search in here for what was it called? Response type equals. Okay, so I want response type equals. Response underscore type equals. Okay, can we find that? No code. Does not include client ID and response type description when using the FA login component. Okay, so that's something in there. I wonder if that's that's probably in the core, right? Oh, but this includes the core. If you do not store login state at all, and there are perfectly reasonable, just very rare reasons to do this, you use the implicit auth type, but anyone that mans in the middle of your connection to the server now has your token from the OAuth 2 side. Right. Let's think about that. So if man in the middle attacks can happen from my server too. So because like the server is going to be separate. Like this is a this is a, we're basically working with a spa application. So it's an application that runs completely in the browser, separated from the server. Yeah, dude logs in from work VPN that requires you to use their SSL cert replacing proxy. Yeah, which then does fun stuff. Yeah. So if I wanted to, well, I guess like the thing that I'm trying to figure out is how do I get the auth? How do I get? Can I exchange a code for a token without the secret? I think the answer is no, right? I can't do that. So if you want to do this without a backend, your only choice is implicit. And if that's true, if the only choice is implicit, in their SDKs here, do they set implicit anywhere? Not exactly there. The FusionAuth SDK in core, oh, maybe it'd be oh, it was like the URL helper, right? So in URL helper, so there's the login path, get login URL. We have client ID, redirect ID, scope, and state, but not type. They don't have the type. Is this wrong, or maybe is there a? No, I don't see. There's no other branches. This is their main branch. Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, you need an endpoint that is a form post that the auth2 side hands you the token directly without the user's browser being the messenger. Okay, which is why you can't do this as a literal SPA. The protocol requires things the user doesn't technically see in the actual app. Okay, and so this is the reason why if you go to Auth0's documentation, if you're using a SPA, they'll tell you set the implicit type. And I think, you know, I'm now curious. If I register a new application. Oh, so here, this is interesting. So if I set that, got it. Okay, so I can't actually set types of the app. So now are they, let's see, do they have anything for SPAs? Single page application authentication. Single page application SPA, sometimes pronounced SPA or SPA, use a single request in response to download the application. Sometimes the entire application is retrieved on the initial request, and other times only part of the application is retrieved. this initial retrieve consists of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, all the normal good things, right? Yeah, I think a lot of spas have redirects to handle external flows. Yeah, interesting. I'm wondering what they're going to say that we should do. Once the application is retrieved or started by the browser, normally by invoking a JavaScript framework that bootstraps and then begins to render the application. In many cases, the HTML of the application is produced by JavaScript, and the browser updates the current document dynamically. Spas use JavaScript and call APIs to handle user interactions and input. For example, if a user clicks a link, the spa might modify the document to render a different page or form when user submits. Okay, blah, blah, blah. All the normal stuff about like what a spa is. It is important to note that while we recommend OAuth for spas, it causes the browser to close the spa and navigate to the OAuth provider. Once the OAuth workflow is complete, the browser retrieves and starts the spa again. This process might seem somewhat heavy, but the spa should be cached in the browser, making the second startup process much faster, meaning that once we have the token, we store the token. That's in cookies, I guess. Because like we need to make authenticated flows. So, okay. So basically I should, if I want to do this correctly, I need to have a backend application, either the equivalent of a Lambda function that does the authentication for me, or just like a full application in like an Axum app, something like that, which might make more sense. The Auth0 SDK docs look correct. Their SDK does the workflow where identify server asks your server, his user logging in, and they store it on their side as part of the identity management. That's the only additional step that I see that wasn't in the workflow that you saw. The thing that's really interesting though is that the SDK for Auth0 has no server besides Auth0 servers involved. It sends you to their, gets you set up. Let's go look it up. So Auth0. If we do like a quick start for a single page app or view, let's say. Configure Auth0. Configure an application. Use the interactive selector to select new Auth0. Go to the dashboard. Configure callback URLs. Allowed web origins. Add login. Add logout. Okay, next steps. Okay, but and I think they basically said you want to configure Auth0, configure an application, use the interactive. Okay, so then if we do Auth0, I want to go to spas. Single page. No, I want not just, I want like the full document. It's like not start building, learn about Auth0. Want login for oh, but they're not going to tell me here. Yeah, these are just like their interface that you get. I want like the actual configuration that happens in the app in Auth0. That's what I'm interested in. I wonder if I'm gonna have to log into Auth0 and take a look at it. I might have to. Oh, wait, can I search for grant types? Alternatively, if you want to secure client-side applications such as a single-page application and aren't passing tokens between servers, the implicit flow with form post is the most appropriate. Yeah, so implicit. Although OAuth now discourages the use of the implicit grant for obtaining access tokens in SPAs, the scenario addressed by implicit flow with form post is completely different and is unaffected by the security issues that led to discouraging use with SPAs. Specifically, implicit flow with form post applies to traditional web apps as opposed to SPAs. You obtain ID tokens as opposed to access tokens, which have a completely different intended use. The flow uses post as opposed to placing tokens in URL fragments and can expose token bits to browser history attacks. Okay. So wait a second. So that's you get the ID token. Is there any reason why you actually yeah, I've forgotten how Kerberos works, unfortunately. I used to set it up and do all that stuff, but that was years and years and years ago, and I don't remember I don't remember that anymore. I would have to do it again to like remember it. I remember having trouble learning it. And then I got it and then I didn't then it's just gone for me now. Let's see. So I'm curious how they're saying theirs is different and perfectly fine for SPA with an access token using implicit, because you get an ID token back. Credential meant for the client itself rather than for accessing a resource. I guess that's what the thing is. I want an ID token, not an access token. An app server and identity server mutually identifying each other is the first step. The user identifying themselves is the second step. The session token using that identity token is the third step. Okay. And then it's something like most of the steps happen automatically, I think, behind the scenes once it's set up. Implicit flow with form post. You can use OpenID Connect with many different flows to achieve web sign-in for a traditional web app. OAuth makes it confusing on the actual overarching plot. Yeah, that's true. I do agree with that. Okay, so so I probably do need an access token. So let me see if I remember how this works. We give, let's actually go to Hasura now. Is it hasura.com? Yes. And then they have an entire authentication system here. And then I need, okay, so it would be Jot mode, which would be, I believe, an access token. Then do you have a section for FusionAuth? No. Can I search for FusionAuth? FusionAuth. There we go. Okay. First step is create a FusionAuth instance. Let's see how Hasura suggests that I do this. The problem with the identity token, which is conceptually a tuplet of your app server, your user ID for that user, their identity server, their ID for the user, could be this literally hashed with a time step. Attackers getting this skips an entire step of identity forging. They can now start forging sessions and pretending to be the user using that identity token, which is not good. Create a new app. Okay, so once the instance is up and running, open the admin console and go to the applications page, create a new app. Okay. Enter a name for the app and then click on the OAuth tab. Make sure you enable generate refresh tokens and require registration. And add authorized redirect URLs. Okay, so they want you to use this. Okay. Create a Lambda function. The next step is involved creating a Lambda function to add custom claims to the Jot. The custom claims from the Jot tell Hasura about the role of the user making the request. As a result, Hasura can enforce the appropriate authorization rules. To create a new Lambda function, go to Customizations Lambdas and click the green plus button. So Customization Lambdas. And then I wonder if that's a paid for feature. So Customizations Lambdas. Oh, no, okay. That's not bad. Oh, and then I can just put the stuff in here. Okay, so do this. The Jot tab, scroll down and you see the Lambda settings. Create a signing key. Configure Hasura with the FusionAuth. Okay, this is not too bad. And then we can get all this stuff. This is why so many websites have actually gotten rid of Auth 2. It's just too easy to screw up. It's very hard to screw up local username password with emails used to prove identity. And the passwords are altered hashed like we've done for 20 years. So wait, we're going back to self-created auth now? Is that what like everything is? We just self-host auth? Yeah, because remote auth doesn't fix anything. Nobody cares what your identity is remotely. Interesting. Okay. So that's an interesting idea. It's like, okay, so if I were to go into not using Fusion or OAuth itself, we create our own auth system, and our own auth system is pretty simple because we just have to salt hash it, throw it in there, and then that's pretty simple to do. Now, we would need a backend for that, which could be for example, be an AWS Lambda function that does that for us, or it could be a like Axum server, for example. Now, I would need to do some more fun things with like one of the nice things about something like FusionAuth is that it potentially helps with roles. Like I do role-based stuff with it. One of the nice things about Auth0 too. Let's say I use my Google account as Auth2. What's the difference between that and just logging in with me? Well, the difference is that some of our users just don't know how to do username and password, which is fun. It's one of these things where we have to ask silly questions like, do we really care if it's actually them? Which is generally we do, but do we really? That's why most websites don't have a username. It's just their email. Well, because like the idea is that their email is who they are. And if somebody stole their email, they've stolen who they are. And then who you are real life and then who you are on a website are also different things, right? Because like you could have multiple systems claiming to be multiple people. If someone stole your OAuth2 account, they've stolen who you are. I mean, we could argue that they've already done that with email, like with Google, right? Because like you can, let's imagine the scenario where we're doing self-auth, right? Where you go into, let's say my LMS, I switch it over to be, I've created the authentication. If somebody sends me with that email address that they want to reset the password, and I do the email, like the reset password step through that email address, that new person that stole their email has them. It doesn't help that I've done authentication outside of OAuth 2. And that's the problem, is that most people still aren't using 2FA. And like for us, yes. Google now requires it. You have no choice. Oh, nice. I had no idea. I mean, I've had it set up forever, so I wouldn't have known when they switched over to that. But of course, they're doing it to their phone, right? Are they doing it to the phone for the most part? 2 years ago? Wow. That is a long time for that. Okay, so to do FusionAuth properly, I think what we need is we would need I guess like the question is, do we gain anything from FusionAuth unless we're also doing like a role-based system? And should we do that separately? And it'd be interesting. Is there like a place in a Zeitgeist or someplace where we can go and take a look at where people are chatting about using self-hosted, like self-auth versus not? Some place where it's not just like, random people on the internet chatting about it. It's like people who actually know what they're talking about. That I don't know where to go to find that, because like for the most part we just find random people saying like, oh, I do this, oh, do that, oh, do this, this is the right way to do it, but like there's no reason for me to trust them. You don't know where the actual software developers who do web stuff live anymore. I mean, for me, I've always just done Auth0 or like some kind of hosted auth, so I don't have to deal with all that stuff. If it's just really simple username password, I just did that in the past. But with most apps, I usually ended up wanting to consolidate multiple applications together. And that was the problem. It's like I wanted to consolidate multiple applications together and do that kind of fun stuff. So, maybe let's continue with the Fusion Auth thing, because I am interested to know whether or not like the role-based system would make things easier, and like the multiple applications as a centralized authentication server would make it easier there, or is that something I should create externally? I always like think about using third-party hosted systems or self-hosted systems, because that takes a lot of development time off of me, which is nice. And now, because of all this weird data retention law in EU and California, all the identity leaking issues, it's extremely difficult to use an external identity manager at all. It is interesting because with Fusion Auth, it's self-hosted, so it would all be my database still. It wouldn't be theirs at all. That would be an interesting thing. Yeah, no, Auth0 says they comply with all these laws. I believe I asked FusionAuth CTO, and he said that they also comply with all those laws. Problem is both yours and theirs. Yeah, that's true. But of course, if I don't store their data, like much data at all, and especially no PII, that helps a bit. And it makes it easy for on request to delete them or provide them. Okay, so all right, we want to let me get rid of this implicit grant. We're going to use authorization code grant. I am a little bit sad, but maybe let's go also back to you. Okay, we got you as code still. As long as you, okay, so here's our code. Now, in my exchange code for that, I want OAuth2, grant type authorization code. Yeah, okay, so we need client ID. Okay, client ID like that. That goes into here. Client, don't save that. Client secret. So this would be the backend thing. Authorization URL. That was it token? Auth2 token? No, access token URL? Can't tell about that. Redirect URL. $8081 auth login just for right now. Why not? Scope was I forget what the scope was. I leave you empty. Do you work? Oh, redirect URL. Oh, authorization URL. That's actually okay. I see what they're doing. They want this. So requests were malformed or unable to be completed. Okay, so Are you going to add all that stuff in there? Oh, yeah, you are. Okay, so we want, what's that? Eliminator. Password goes in like this. Don't keep me signed in for right now. Submit. Ooh. You didn't get me the thing. Yeah, and if you're not storing PII at all because it makes no sense to, then having external identity is now PII, which is fun. Like if someone logs in with an OAuth 2 from some major provider, Google, Facebook, etc., and now a PII that is who they are, it's not like it is in, say, South Korea or some other Asian countries. To access some service, you have to type in your government ID. Interesting. I wonder if like my LMS would fall into something like that, where I would need to deal with that. Okay, so that didn't give me you. Okay, so if I want to exchange for a token, okay, so let's see. If I use, we would need the authorization. This would be basic, I think. It was like a combination, right? They said it was a combination of, I have so many, I have two, I'm not used to having so many tabs open. I'm lost. Okay, authorization code grants. Okay, token endpoint. Authorization. Oh, right. I can put that into the client secret, can go into the body. That's what it is. Okay. So I don't need the authorization at all. Just go to body. We do this. We have client ID, code. Code is that now, right? That's the new code I got. WK? No. Okay, we got that. Grant type authorization code, redirect URI, and then I want client secret, I think it was called. Client secret. And then we're going to grab the client secret from here. That was the one with the start with L. Skimmus, hello. It's going okay. We're having fun with authorization code. Auth code, invalid authorization code, auth code not found. Is that because it expired? Let's try a new code. Oh, I'm missing a couple characters at the end. That would also help. Okay, so new code. There we go. And that gives us the access token. And if we don't have this client secret here, obviously it's going to fail and say, hey, we need to have that in there. So we put you in, oh, and we can only use the code once. So I would need to relog in again. Get that. Authorization code. And there we go. So now we can see the access token that we got. And all right, so don't update Discord. Uh-oh. The video is lagging behind the audio and only from my stream. Well, that's not good. I am not dropping any frames. Well, that's not great. Masood, hello. How are you doing today? Is YouTube lagging behind audio wise too? It might be a good time to end then, if things are starting to get a little bit weird. But let's also come back to here because I crashed on the hello queue. Well, that's not great. I see Suyash though said something. Subscription already exists when calling subscriptions with the body. Oh. Huh. I don't remember that was calling for subscriptions. Switch events, listener, WebSocket, handler. Well, that's not great. We'll have to look at that a little bit later to figure out what's going on with that. But let's say hi to everybody that I apparently missed. So apparently Suyash, you were here. Hello, how are you? I missed you apparently in there. And then also Skimmis and Tea Kettle Joan. How are you all doing today? My bitrate is showing fine on all the systems. Is the video lagging behind? Is the video lagging behind for you, Diablo? Or like, is the sound like separated out? Yep, even on YouTube I can see the lag, but a little bit less severe. Oh, interesting. That is interesting. I wonder that snap my fingers or something. Okay, we'll do that. It's very quiet. Okay, the last one I got loud. It's really bad. It is out of sync, and you bet it's my OBS. Okay. What can I change in my OBS? Want to sing? No. I'm okay with not singing. Okay, so going into my settings, OBS. It's getting worse the longer you're watching it because it's way worse than what they're seeing. So I wonder if I'm sending too much. It was like 5 seconds desync, but now it's okay. So interesting. That's not great. The general wouldn't be appearance. Oh, OBS just updated to last night. So I haven't looked at like, okay, I haven't looked at what I can like do to change things. Output, I'm on like a really high bit rate. I wonder if I switch this to like much lower. So like if I do 4K. The video encoder, hardware, encoder preset, better quality. I mean, I could change that to just normal quality. I'm also recording at the same time on that same system, but that should be fine. Okay, so if I apply that, that's going to drop my... You had the same issue on the last stream too, but apparently nobody noticed it there either. Oh, huh. Like capping at 60, but streaming at 59.94 kind of delay. Oh no, that sucks. Okay, well I dropped my quality down to 4K instead of 7K or 8K or whatever I had it at. And so that should It's not a bitrate issue. Yeah, because I'm not dropping any frames. I am a little bit worried though that there is something about. Yeah, try refreshing the stream. Let me know if that refreshes that. And Parvez, hello. How are you doing today? You're doing okay? Excellent. That sounds good. Let's also refresh this because that shouldn't be dead. That gave me a really bad redirect URL in here. Well, that's not right. Oh, it redirected. Oh, because I have something running. Oh, I know what's going on. Oh no. Okay. I'm running multiple things on the same port. That's the problem here. Okay, refresh did not help for you, Skimmis. Okay, I wonder if it has to do with restream. Do the finger snapping test again? Okay, I'll do we'll do that again. All right, here we go. My guess is based upon what Skimmis said is that it's not going to fix it. And it makes me wonder because I'm streaming out to Restream, which then restreams that out to YouTube and Twitch. They could be having the problem. And it could be nothing that I could do about that because they're having that problem. You think here we could do clapping too. Try not to get above the red. It's slowly buffering frames to not drop anything, and it's a frame rate mismatch. And YouTube is also lagging, which makes more sense that this is a problem with Restream. Skimmis, do you use Restream? Or is it you're just going straight to Twitch and or YouTube? I could also do fun things and stream multiple out myself. Like on my laptop, stream to Twitch, and then on a desktop. Okay, so you're doing directly to Twitch and YouTube, or YouTube. Yeah, it's been going long enough that I would get that sort of lag. Yeah, that's so weird though, which kind of sucks. I wonder if there's like a restream status. All systems operational, no problems. Of course, just because they haven't reported the problem. I don't know where people would be reporting this quite often. I would imagine X. Let's see. They want so they have documentation. Check your setup. Confirm the right video and audio devices selected. They would want me to. Oh, you don't stream yourself. Okay, I thought you mentioned that that it was happening to you, as in you were streaming. It was set to. What's my OBS set to? You're talking about frame rate, right? On OBS. Let me see. OBS output. Did they change this? I have output mode simple, so I don't know if I can see. Oh, you had the issue on my stream last time too. Oh, okay. That's what I said. Yeah. Where do I see that is where do I see that setting in OBS? In video, I have settings for 60 for just FPS. So I am doing it at 60 FPS. For output, bitrate, let's see, audio bitrate, video encoder, encoder preset. Yeah, video tab should say common 60. So yeah, in video tab I do have common FPS value 60. I've set it for that. And in my bottom right for OBS, it does say 60 over 60. So it claims that it's sending out at that. Audio should be 48K. Audio. Yeah, audio 48K. I mean, so I have it set to be 60 frames per second, not like 59.94. Okay, so you think it's a problem that Restream has. Okay. We can, you know what we can do? I can try tomorrow's stream to be, I could try some fun things with tomorrow's stream. Let me think about that. Because I might be able to do like a stream to Twitch directly, like because I have two devices. I could stream directly off of the laptop and the desktop at the same time. We could do fun things that way. But all right. Before we end today, let's go ahead and write down things that we need to do to get this to work, right? So like story is like a combination of like other things too. So we want, as an unauthenticated admin, I want to log in. As an admin, I want to register a new app. Okay, so we also need so I need a server. So we need to create an Axum server to handle OAuth to requests. And that should be pretty simple to get a token and then send that on back. And it gets worse as the movie goes on. Yeah, and that totally makes sense. I guess we could turn me off and then it won't feel quite as bad, right? Because if I do this, where's my camera? If I turn me off, now you can't tell that it's desynced. And as long as you can't hear me typing, everything will be fine, right? that's how we do things around here. Also, weirdly enough, your response to us in chat is getting laggier. That, so, okay. What's the bit rate coming into you? What do you see the bit rate is on Twitch? Now I'm really curious about that. Because if I'm wondering now if the bitrate that I was sending into FusionAuth. Oh God, now I just have that in my brain too much. If I was sending a bitrate that was higher, or like their servers, by their I mean Restream servers are slowing down, that could cause weird problems. 4 megabits per second. Okay, so I just dropped it down a little bit. Could it be a bitrate issue though? Possibly. I could try something drastic. Bitrate would cause drop GOPs, period. If I was sending a high bitrate and I mean, so bitrate also would be the amount of data being sent over time, right? It can't change the actual count of frames. They don't have that kind of service. But I guess like I don't know how they're set up. Either it makes sense in there in time or it doesn't. Yeah. I mean, I guess like one thing I could potentially do is if it's buffering because I was sending them too much, then I could potentially set it to be like a really slow, like really low bitrate, which reduces the quality of the stream to like nothing, and then wait for half a minute and then bring it back up to like 4K, and then see whether or not everything is like sort of debuffered at that point in time. I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever. If it was buffering, they would have been watching it at sub 60, which doesn't make sense. The stream says 60, you checked. That okay. Then yeah, that makes no sense whatsoever. Seeing the desync is not that big of a problem. I just wanted to point out the issues here where, yeah, but I guess what I'll do is I'll do some Googling to see if there's something like that. I don't know what, I guess like a here, restream desync audio video. Restart all software and hardware. Well, of course that would help, but I don't want to restart everything. Okay, and then so one person suggests I use something called an OBS plugin that allows capture of independent application audio streams. Just in case, so like it could be OBS that's like getting off, but it's like growing over time. So I don't know about that. Okay, that's not the issue. You know what he's talking about. Okay, so maybe growing. Yeah, I don't know. This is gonna be a tough one to find out. Like one person suggested that I use some like timestamps. Let's see. That would be with the audio that I was sending out, which would be the mic. But you're also saying that I'm getting more delayed in chatting with you, which means that the lag is getting worse and worse, and the latency is getting worse and worse and worse. Enabling hardware timestamps can be done in your good fancy ADC. Okay. Where use device timestamps is already set up on that. I've already got that going. Latency doesn't seem that bad. Only 3.3 seconds for you. Interesting. Okay. All right, here I'll turn on my camera again. All right. Well, let's continue with like figuring this out. So we have, as an unauthenticated admin, I want to log in and create an Axum server to handle OAuth 2 requests. So that's what we would do. So we can get we go to, so we send a message, we send the browser to FusionAuth that then sends a message to the Axum server that redirects the Axum server that then redirects back to, once it gets the token, it then sends that back. And okay. So this would be redirect. Okay, so send login to Fusion Auth. Redirect to Axum. Get access token. Redirect. I guess like redirect. Yeah, it'd be redirect again. Redirect back to spa. To you. Or like load you or something like that. Oh, what is my camera frame rate set to? It's gone? Whoa. Good question. What is my camera frame rate set to? Main camera. My camera is set to, highest FPS. Match output FPS. 30. Okay, so this camera can only do 30 frames per second. Oh, interesting. Okay. And I have it as a custom resolution. If I use device default, that's what I get. Hold on. Device default. Hold on, I'm going to make myself big. I'm going to reset the camera. Nope, wrong keyboard. Oh, interesting. That's not great. Why am I cut off by half? It's like, yeah, that's better. I've been biggened, yeah. Okay, so I set it to just the device default for the camera instead. So we can see whether or not this causes it again. So I changed the settings a little bit. What is my cat cam? Is that technically a better cam? Cat cam. Also 30. Okay. But I did output matching this time. The cat cam should be better. The cat cam is newer. The cat cam is a... I can't tell. I can't tell what model it is just by looking at it. Okay, so let me change my main camera again. So I want to not do... Device default never seems to do good stuff. So custom 1920 by 1080, match the output. okay with that. Okay, so we're, oh, nope, don't move that. I've become small. Nope. Okay, hold on. I'm going to reset this again. There. That should look a little bit better. Wrong layer. Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's see if this works a little bit better. Oh, you don't have a capture card or webcam, so you can't see those settings in OBS. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right, so let's see what we got. Redirect back to you, and then you should get the access token. So then after I get the access token, so in you, we now have the access token. I want to get the user information. So get user information, display like user info, like somewhere on the screen. That's I think what we want. All right, so this is, I believe, the plan for continuing on with FusionAuth for what we would need to do to make things properly set up. And also, maybe something to be concerned about is that I'm using the wrong kind of authentication with my current setup with the LMS. I'm using a implicit code grant, which is not great. So I would probably need to do this anyways, and putting this in Axum is nice because we love doing that, right? You'd think maybe being a weird tech guy, it'd have some, let's see, you'd have some, but you're all, well, don't worry about that. Buys $800 desk, doesn't buy the $50 webcam. I mean, the key is to buy the $800 webcam too as well. That will, I'm sure, have some kind of, system in it that makes us look better, right? Right. Or just do what most streamers do and have really bright lights that shine on you, because you always look better when you have bright lights on you. That's something I've actually learned, is that a trick is to overblow yourself with lights, and now any flaws in your skin cannot be detected. Something like that. No lights, RGB everything. Yeah, I can't actually control the light. That would be amazing if my studio lights were actually RGB, and then we can make that you change them. That'd be pretty cool. We can't do that. All right, so this is gonna be the plan. We're gonna probably continue working on this. We'll implement this next because we need to do that in order to sort of understand a little bit more about how to build these things. That's great. Good to know. Let's move. Let's see. Tomorrow. So I put into the plan that tomorrow is sort of like a day. What is this? Day like 2, 3.5 or day 0.5 on this. So it's the plan is to continue working with the testing FusionAuth, but I also want to create a front end for Anathema, because I want to see, okay, what if I had a centralized authentication server, but like the apps that you would use would be Anathema, some like a CLI based app on your own system instead of a web app in your browser. Same general idea, database, external, like, database in the cloud. We have, it's basically just like a front end for stuff. So we're going to start playing around with that. Togglebit has been adding tons of things to Anathema, which is one of the reasons I want to continue sort of like playing around with it, seeing how, and trying it out. So that's the idea, is that we'll be adding a second front end to this. That sounds so obnoxious, lol. Might be a fun gimmick though, having redemptions or something for lights. Yeah, exactly. That it's none of those things are for, making things better, objectively better. They're all for making things more objectively fun or subjectively fun. And usually for the viewers, right? Friend of yours bought colored 100 watt CABs, hook the constant current PSU's dimmer to one of those little DIY RGB controllers. He is not sane, but they're effectively studio lights. I am not quite that. I am a little bit more sane than that, mostly because I'm just lazy. My sanity is mostly just because I'm too lazy to become insane and do the insane things, even though they'd be fun. I want to do those things. I just don't have the time. Or rather, I don't give myself the time. Am I you? I mean, how do I know? Okay, so cool. We now know what we want to do. Tomorrow we'll be back and we'll be continuing to work on this project, but we're going to start building a front end for these type of stories in Anathema, as it were, instead. So we'll be getting to essentially the same point that we are with you, that we see here, but with an Anathema front end, which is gonna be fun. So basically, we're gonna implement this again in Anathema. So, and then if we get far enough with it, we'll start working on the that Axum API. So I don't know I don't know how much we're gonna get into it. It'll be fun. If you haven't ever seen Anathema before, it is a really cool system. It basically allows me to write component-based CLI applications, which is fun and really cool. And I think possibly something that we can start doing more of is like having less things in the browser, but still using modern programming techniques, which is really cool and fun. So with that, I hope that you all have a great rest of your day. Hopefully I won't get out of sync anymore. And with that, have I used Clerk.js? No, I have not. I have not used Clerk.js. What is that? I've been basically not using much JS on this channel very much recently. Is it a CLI app? Oh, it's authentication and user management. Oh, no, I haven't tried it. I haven't used this before. So complete suite of embeddable UIs, flexible APIs, and admin dashboards to authenticate and manage your users. So is this all for self-management? Or is it just like UI stuff? Everything you need. Okay, so it's probably more than just UI stuff. Yeah, the only thing is like we've been doing a lot of stuff on Rust. So obviously that's not going to work for us. Yeah, authentication system you can use for everything, data and everything. Okay, interesting. I can add this to my thing to check out, but I have no idea when I'd get there. Check out Clerk for authentication. All right, cool. All right, let's see, back to what my outro. We'll be back tomorrow at around 9:45 a.m. Mountain Time to continue working on this project, but CLI version. So with that being said, I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.